You're listening to the Atlanta Sports Podcasts, your weekly podcast for all things Atlanta sports. From the Atlanta Braves, Atlanta Falcons, and the Atlanta Hawks, to the Georgia Bulldogs and Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, we have you covered on the best podcast for Atlanta sports. Hello everybody, this is the Atlanta Sports Podcast, and today this is our Atlanta Hawks episode, and we are going to finish up our interview, the second part of our interview with John Fricke from 92.9 The Game. We talked about the Atlanta Hawks, so I'm going to let you listen to that in a minute, but first I want to thank you for finding us, whether it be on our website, atlantasportspodcasts.com, or if you found us on Twitter, we're at ATL Sportscast, we thank you for that, and also if you found us in any of the major directories, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, we're in pretty much all the major directories you can think of. We thank you for finding us there, and I'd like to remind you, you can leave us a review in iTunes, or you can comment to us on our website. Again, it's atlantasportspodcast.com. So now we're going to get into our interview. This is the second part of it. If you missed the first part, you can go check that out. It's on our website, and it's about the Atlanta Falcons. And so now, I'm going to let you take a listen at this one, and then I'll be back to you in a little while. Alright, so Dwight Howard has finished his first few weeks with the Hawks. In this small sample size of work, do you think he's been an improvement in overall production compared to Al Horford?
Oh, yeah, no question. Don't you? I mean, there's not even close. I mean, this is no slight on Al Horford. Dwight Howard is far better than Al Horford. And he's far better than Al Horford just simply because he's a better rebounder. He's a better defender. And he fills that role. Al Horford was never a center. Al Horford was a 4. Strong power forward. Masquerading as a 5. Dwight Howard's a true 5. And so the Hawks haven't had a true center since Mutombo. So, no, I mean, Dwight Howard's a vast improvement over Al Horford. Again, there's no reason for me to slam Al. It's just a demonstrable improvement over what they have had in the past. You see that in the rebounding totals. Now, what does that mean? It's hard to say. I mean, the team is going to rise and fall on the growth of a couple of players throughout the year. You know what you're going to get from Dwight Howard. You know what you're going to get from Paul Millsap. You pretty much know what you're going to get with the bench. You know what you're going to get with guys like Cabo and Kyle Korver. It's really about Dennis Schroeder and Kent Bazemore. And as they go, let's not forget, a couple of years ago when they went on that 19-game win streak, who was the key guy? Well, it was DeMar Carroll. And DeMar Carroll had come to the Hawks as a free agent. Nobody thought much of him. And he elevated his game into star status. Well, if they get that out of Bazemore, and he's capable of doing it, and Schroeder grows as a point guard, well, that'll make the season different. So how Bazemore and Schroeder go is how the Hawks season will go. At the moment, I'm probably still thinking they're about a 50-win team, but they could be closer to a 55-win team. If they're closer to a 55-win team, that means they're going to be closer to a top 3 seed. I'm not saying they're going to be Cleveland, but I think this season could turn out to be pretty good for them.
So Dennis Schroeder's now the starting point guard, as we all know, with Jeff Teague being traded away. From what you've seen in a small sample size, do you think Dennis has been an improvement or not over Jeff Teague?
Well, they think so. Teague was a very good player, but, it's about the attitude of the team, too. There's no question that that's gotten a little bit better. Dennis is just, you get Dennis, bad Dennis. And they know that. And so it's a growing process. Let's keep in mind, Dennis Schroeder's only 22 years old. He's 22. And so, he's really just fresh out of college, if he had gone to college. So, is Dennis Schroeder, would I have kept Dennis Schroeder over Jeff Teague if I had to keep one of the two? Yes. Did they make the right move? Yes. Now, again, how does he grow in this role over the course of the season in terms of slowing his game down, minimizing his mistakes and understanding he doesn't have to win games for them, on his own? That's what we have to see. And that's why the season will rise and fall on the growth of Dennis Schroeder and Kent Bazemore.
And you've been mentioning it's a growing process. The Hawks recently knocked off the Cleveland Cavaliers, the NBA reigning champions. What does that win say about this team?
It just says they're a pretty good club. I mean, Cleveland had an off-night shooting. J.R. Smith was terrible. I mean, I'm not going to put too much stock or take too much stock out of that. It just says the Hawks are a pretty good team. And the nice thing about this team is they do have a pretty good bench. Muscala's played really well off the bench. And the starting 5, we call it starting 6 if you want to say that, depending on whether you're going offense, defense with Korver and Tabo, pretty much know their roles. My only concern is I think that Kent Bazemore is better as the shooting guard than the 3. So if you see, there's a guy on one of the draft picks is Taurean Prince. If Taurean Prince develops over the course of the year, and he's got big, long arms, he's extremely athletic, and I know nobody's really looking at him right now, but you can hear guys talk in practice that Taurean Prince could develop into a starter pretty quick in his career. So if he starts to develop into that and gets more minutes as the season goes along here, and you have the luxury of possibly putting Kent Bazemore at the 2, that's going to really, be a big help for them. I'm not overly concerned about it. I mean, it's nice to beat Cleveland and Chicago back-to-back. It just says everything we all know about the Hawks, that they're a pretty good basketball team.
Yeah, Malcolm Delaney's performed pretty well so far, coming off the bench, helping out Dennis Schroeder a little bit. So how do you think the Hawks have been able to take players that are pretty much, no-names overall to most NBA fans and turn them into guys that you really have to know about? They're performing really well. So, what do you credit for that development?
Well, I think Malcolm Delaney is a decent player. I mean, it seems like a pretty decent player. I think for his role, he'll be there. Again, I don't think he's critical to the success of the team. It certainly helps. But, Coach Bud's system, it's pretty easy if you're a point guard who knows how to, play defense, and I mean this in sincerity. I mean, it's not that hard. You can handle the ball, and you can play defense, and you can distribute. Your job is to get down there, and, everything goes through Dwight, and then it goes out to Millsap, and then it kicks over to Baszler, to Korver. I mean, you don't have to score. Dennis Schroeder doesn't have to get 20 points. Probably doesn't have to get 10. So, in the system, the point guard doesn't, the Bud runs, the point guard doesn't have to be a scorer, so that takes a lot of the pressure off. So you just have to be good on the defensive end and distribute the basketball properly. And again, Coach Bud's system is still in place. So that changed just because you got center. So, a lot of guys are going to be able to flourish in that kind of system. As I mentioned, look at Tamari Carroll and how he flourished in that system. And I expect, I'm going to go back to this again, because Kent Bazemore is the guy. Watch how good he becomes over the course of the season.
Are there any in-season moves that you think the Hawks need to make this year to become a championship contending team?
No, there's nothing they can make. I mean, really, realistically, not. I mean, because to be a championship team in the NBA, you need a superstar. Well, are you going to go get LeBron? Are you going to get Kevin Durant? Are you going to get Steph Curry? I mean, there's really not much you can do. As long as they don't have any major injuries, I think this is the team you have. Well, maybe they make a minor move or something, but again, it's about development of the players that you have. And the Hawks will live and die with that for the moment because that's where they are. I mean, I think this is probably the team for the next couple of 3 years. And we'll see if there's just nobody really go get right now. So we were talking about Dwight Howard 3 years ago, and now he's here. And one thing fans forget is that Dwight Howard's only 30 years old. He's only 30. He's the same age as Al Horford. Dwight Howard can play for another 5 or 6 years. So this is going to be the team that they have for quite a while, I think.
How can Atlanta sports fans connect with you?
Well, you can listen to the radio every morning. That would be a good thing. 92.9 The Game. 6 to 10 with John and you every morning. If you turn on your radio, that'd be a really good thing. And, of course, you can always follow me on Twitter. It's just at my name, JOHNFRICKE. And I kind of live and die on Twitter, so that would be the ways to do it. But, yeah, just listen to the show. That's all we want you to do.
All right, we enjoyed talking to you today, John, and we hope to see you soon.
Hey, guys, anytime. I do appreciate it.
All right, so that was some great stuff from John Fricke from 92.9 The Game. And now I want to do a little bit of the season recap for the Atlanta Hawks. We did a little bit of it there, but just so you get the main idea, the Atlanta Hawks are 6-2 on the season. They beat the Wizards, 76ers, Kings, Rockets, Cavs, and the Bulls. And they lost to the Lakers and the Wizards. So their next game is they're at home versus the 76ers tomorrow, and the 76ers are still winless, so that should be a win for the Hawks. They're looking pretty good this year. So far, so good, as some would say. They're second in the Southeast Division. They're behind Charlotte. And then they're third in the Eastern Conference. They're behind Charlotte and then the Cleveland Cavaliers, who, like I mentioned, they just beat this week. So, they can hang with anybody. I think this team is good. Now, I'm not sure they're going to be able, like you saw or listened to John say in the interview, he's not sure they can rival the Cavaliers, and I'm not either. But we'll have to see how that goes as the season goes on. This team could surprise us. So real quickly, we did talk about Dwight Howard at the beginning of the interview, and I want to do a little bit about it right now. I went ahead and pulled up some stats comparing Dwight Howard so far this year to Al Horford's whole season of 2015, to his whole stats. So Howard has 15.9 points per game, 12.6 rebounds per game, and 1.3 assists per game. Now, Al Horford in 2015, he had 15.2 points per game, slightly less than Dwight Howard does right now. He only had 7.3 rebounds per game, and that is the place where everybody expected the big drop-off from him. And then he also had 3.2 assists per game, which is more than Dwight Howard does at the moment. But like in the interview John said, he's done a much better job. Now, the only thing you have to worry about is team chemistry at this point. But I don't think that'll be too much of an issue. it should work itself out, and I think this team has the potential to be something special. Maybe not this year, but maybe in the years to come as they come together. And like he said, he's been mentioning throughout the whole interview, it's a growing process. You've got young players everywhere. So once this team grows up a little bit and gets a little older and more experienced, this team will be very good. And I want to thank you again for listening to the Atlanta Sports Podcast. Remember to check us out on Twitter. We're at ATL Sportscast. You can follow us there. Or you can find us on our website, atlantasportspodcast.com. You can sign up for our newsletter there so you can get notified of all of our latest posts and podcasts. And you can also subscribe to us in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, pretty much any of the major directories, or on YouTube, we're the Atlanta Sports Podcast. And we hope to see you next week with another show.